Hello, everybody. My name is Drew Dosek, and welcome to Trading the Close. Today is another positive green day in the markets. We had nothing but just buying pressure nearly all day long, and we've got earnings this afternoon too with the big player Google. So let's just jump straight into those charts. Those folks watching live, here's going to be some levels that you can trade and anticipate movement to after hours. So right into Google. We see here Google's moved up, had a beautiful day so far, up 2.54%. Earnings after the bell could push price up to 166.93. That would be a near-term day trading shortable level. Also right here at 170.56 if it pierces and goes back up into this parallel. On the downside, we do have a gap fill right here at 147.67. That would be a place to start entering for a long on a day trade. And then right down here at 143.89. All right, so let's flip over to the heat map to get a summary of what transpired throughout the day. And as you see here, nothing but a lot of green on the right-hand side of the screen. Dow Jones up 1.3%, NASDAQ up 2.51%, S&P 500 up 1.87%, U.S. oil up 0.65%, still chopping around that line that we're going to show you here in a little bit. Gold also did have a little bit of an update too, up 58 bucks, 1.77%, and Bitcoin is flat, mainly just hanging out right around where we left yesterday. And that's good news for bulls of Bitcoin because now they have the opportunity for bullish consolidation to take place, giving the momentum and strength to Bitcoin to move up higher. All right, so let's jump into the spiders. Here we see a major breakthrough right here. Yesterday, if you recall here, we opened up and started trading within this parallel and then got rejected. Today, you clearly see we are well inside this parallel. Now, there's good and bads to this too, because what needs to happen now is we need to confirm above the candle close today to make sure that we have any sort of positive momentum moving higher. With this big pierce, it will be a challenge for that to happen tomorrow, but we'll see where we open up. If we gap up, that could be an easy feat to take place. It all depends on really now this candle. What happens tomorrow and the following trading days is really going to dictate the future near-term movement in the stock markets. Now, if you also recall, the cycle date that I described was supposed to take place on April 14th, actually happened a few days earlier on April 3rd, right about 10 days earlier. And today marks the 3-week time frame. So these cycles last about 3 to 7 weeks. Now is the time where potentially bullish sentiment can step in and start moving the markets higher. Our next cycle date we have comes just next month, May 15th, but there's really no positive or negative sign there. It could just be a change in momentum. So we're going to keep a close eye and watch and monitor to provide you guys with guidance there. So back to the spiders. So we need to confirm above this candle tomorrow. If that takes place, I think the markets can push much higher, all the way up to, I think the high end of this run could be the gap fill right here at 583.06. Now into the QQQ, this also displays that we do have bullish sentiment on the charts. Now we haven't gotten above nor closed above this massive green candle. However, with this longer term trend line, with a pivot down here from April 19th of last year, connected over to this low pivot, all the way through, you see now that we have now moved up yesterday, and now today we have confirmed above this trend line. This trend line now is major support, which then also shifts probabilities for price to continue moving higher. However, on the Qs, notice our first resistance is going to be coming in right here at this trend line, which is roughly 472.30. So we may have some room to run, but then we'll get caught up into some resistance. What would be ideal for any bulls out there, you want to see consolidation right around this area, or even potentially a gap above that trend line, because that will allow the reserved energy that would be required to get through this trend line to be used to excel forward. So you're hoping, if you're a bull, for a gap above this trend line and a run, and we'll see if Google after hours can help in getting that accomplished for the QQQ. Into Bitcoin. Bitcoin, as I mentioned, kind of chopping around, and that's to be expected. We had a huge move up over the last few days, and we need a little bit of a pause now to actually have a proper move up in the charts that will be sustained. If we don't have any sort of breaks, usually these can run out of gas real fast. Say if we just continued moving higher up into the next resistance levels without any sort of pause, we would get rejected and likely come all the way back down here to these pivots. But now with this consolidation, that opens the door for more upside in Bitcoin. Next stop is going to be 95,000, followed by 97,400, and then up here to the $100,000 mark. Into gold, you see we did have a little bit of an up day here on gold, and then the big fall that we've seen here. So there's still a lot of buyers interested in gold, and that's likely to be the case. I'm still eyeing this area right here at $3,100, getting less and less likely that this $2,800 area is going to be hit any time in the near future. Into silver. Silver's also following up yesterday's huge gains with potential bullish consolidation. We'll see this over the next few days, how the price action behaves on this chart. If we do have more bullish consolidation, that will open the door for a move right up to 34.58 or up into 34.86, with that area being very strong resistance on the charts there for silver. Into U.S. oil, it continues to chop around this trend line right here, which doesn't say it's bullish or bearish yet at the moment. It's just trying to break through, but the more times that this line is hit, the weaker it becomes. And so that is also increasing probabilities of a chance to go higher rather than when it was here, when this trend line was stronger. So it's about a 50-50 coin split right now on what's going to happen with oil, either up or down, and the economy will obviously guide that too. If we start having a rip up in the markets, it's likely oil will follow suit too and start moving a little bit higher. Into natural gas. Natural gas did dip down a little bit lower and tagged this support level 306, but it's still closing in the range of these two candles that are prior days of trading. So this area still is good support for natural gas. Should we consolidate right around this area, that will then create a bear flag pointing towards more downside down here at $2.55. Into the US dollar. Now, the US dollar also had a little bit of a break today from its move up recently, and that's all fine. But most importantly, we're not making new near-term lows on the dollar. So this behavior is fine for the dollar, but wanted to touch base and give you an update on that. Into the 10-year yield. The 10-year yield is now pulling back a little bit, which is alleviating pressures from the market. When the yields were spiking up like this, that was raising a lot of concerns with investors, with money getting harder to borrow, and then also purchases being more difficult in the future for retail investors and retail purchasers. Now the yields are pulling back down. That's providing a little bit of ease, allowing investors to focus back on the stocks that they want to purchase for another move back up. Now, AVGO was one of the leaders of the mega caps today. And you can see here what AVGO has done now with this move. It's now broken above this trend line. Now, this trend line, you could call this an inverse head and shoulders pattern that's on the chart of AVGO. Should that inverse head and shoulders pattern play out, we'll have a measured move all the way up to 231.33. So you see here too on the charts, I'm not going to predict anything that's going to happen in any one of these stocks. What I do is read the charts. The charts tell me what's going to happen. I'm not going to sit here and say in 2029, we're going to be doing this because I don't understand all the complexities, and nor does really anybody else, of what could happen, a black swan event. The charts guide us. The charts show us which way price is likely to go. And right now, from what we see here on AVGO, with this breakout, we're going to need a confirmation above this candle in the following trading days. But should that occur, that all then makes this major support, allowing the probabilities to shift for a higher move up. Now, next resistance for AVGO to get through is this declining trend line right around 193.77. But should it break through that, we'll have a lot of room to run with a little resistance here, but then ultimately that measured move up here at 231.33. Into NVIDIA. NVIDIA here also had a great day from this big gap up that we had yesterday. We're now closing above that candle, which then also does open the door for some further upside movement. First resistance on NVIDIA is going to be 112.20. Followed by 119.75. But then you notice here in this area right above 120, we get into a lot of resistance on the chart of NVIDIA. That would be an area where I would anticipate, if we did move up, that we would come back down, likely test the top ends of these pivots, maybe even consolidate in this area for some period before attempting to go higher. And who knows, by that time, the sentiment could change. Maybe tariff deals won't be on the table that we thought were going to be. And then we could also start reversing over and curling back. But this is the area to watch on NVIDIA over the next coming days and weeks in trading. Now into some more crypto stocks. Now MSTR is not crypto, but they do hold an awful lot of Bitcoin. As you see here on the chart, we've had a long-term declining parallel channel that price action did right here. It closed above this trend line and then right here confirmed. So this now is a confirmed breakout on MSTR from this declining parallel. What needs to happen, which would be ideal of a scenario, especially for traders, is if we see MSTR come back just slightly, retest the top end of this parallel right around 306.57, that would be an ideal buying opportunity for MSTR. What's great about these breakouts is if price does come back down in the parallel and confirm back in the parallel, you can stop out. It's a low risk reward trade. So it's a low risk, high reward potential for a trade, because if price action comes back down, the likelihood and what generally happens when price does a breakout like this and retests, it acts much like a springboard at the swimming pool where someone's jumping and then they get their next jump and it's a big jump back up. And you'll see a very similar pattern that's taking place right here on TAOBUSD. This cryptocurrency has had a monumental move over the last several days. This is one of the top movers on Coinbase. You can see it's moved up nearly 60% since just a couple weeks ago. Massive breakout here on TAO. And so if you look on the charts, it's very clear to see this declining trend line that price is broken out of. And then also, if I pull up the RSI, you can see we are in overbought territory right now. So both the breakout and the overextension of this move and overbought RSI all tell me that this crypto needs to cool off a little bit. But much like on the MSTR chart, if it does cool off and come right back down, this area can act as a springboard, catapulting price higher up on the charts. That area to buy is in between $281.50 and $291.25. Keep this on the radar for an opportunity to capitalize on a move much like this one in the near future. Into now. Now, ServiceNow had earnings just yesterday after the bell, and this stock rose up 15% today, right into resistance here at 938.37. Next areas of resistance should ServiceNow continue moving higher. They had great guidance for their second quarter. They also had higher subscribers too. So both of those are a 1-2 punch for continued movement upwards. But this 15% move likely needs to cool off a little bit before it moves up higher. But the next resistance area is the $1,000 mark, followed by this inclining trend line right here, which is roughly currently at $1,000 or $1,060. Now into CEP, real quick before we wrap up trading the close. This is a SPAC company. For what they've done, they've combined with Tether and SoftBank and Cantor. They've all combined to put in money to start a new company called 21. Now this company is going to be based off of Bitcoin and crypto. So that's going to be the core base, much like MSTR. So this company hasn't debuted yet. They're using this CEP as a SPAC, but today price action on it got up over 130% gain. Huge move in the market, but you can see here also a corresponding collapse. This was one of the hottest stocks talked about on Wall Street Bets today. And as you see, a lot of people were piling in, but these are very dangerous plays. If you don't know what you're doing, you can really be caught on the wrong side of a trade. I do point this out though, if we do move into bull markets in the near future, whether that's this year, next year, or following years, understanding how SPACs work will help you, because usually we have a lot of IPOs during bull markets. It's not typical during bear markets because usually those stocks open up and just get smashed in bear markets. Companies, that when they're coming out and introducing themselves to the public to purchase for investors, they want to see that stock price rise. And so usually during bull markets is when you have a lot of IPOs. But understanding SPACs can help you make good investment decision in the future. All right, that wraps up Trading the Close. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, my name is Drew Dosek. Thank you all also for the comments. I love having all those. They really mean a lot to me and help guide me to give you guys better information here on this show. You guys have a great one, and I'll be back next week with some more data. Until then, you guys have a great weekend. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.